Yeah, so my name's Chris, and I've actually been doing software, working with software and technical writers actually since 1995. And I'm going to talk. I'm really actually very interested in meaning and words, and that words are extremely important, and they're actually ignored very, very often in actually all products across the board, but especially if you're going to talk about software or websites, like the words often come last, and why that is and how to help to change that, and why anything about technical writing actually is really, really important and should not come last. So I'm sort of titling this talk "The Dilemma of All Products Everywhere." And I'm going to talk about empathy and like that where you come from when you're building any product or any website or even writing anything is like really, really important. So so I started in 1995 as a programmer working with tech writing companies. I worked with Autodesk, which makes AutoCAD, which is the largest software product, or was at the time anyway, for the PC, and had like this thick of books about it. And we had to document, and I did the online help for it too, which was like probably the largest online help system available at the time. And we had to document every function, every procedure, all of this stuff. And even though we knew nobody really read that stuff, we had to document all this stuff. And so we were really in this frustrating predicament where we knew that we were documenting all this stuff that nobody really read or understood or cared about. And so that's almost to set a stage to say that even in a really big software company that's spending millions and millions of dollars, they can still have this predicament where everything's actually oriented towards what a spreadsheet says they need to do instead of what users actually want and need. And even though that's probably gotten a little better since then, not nearly as much as we would like. So, yes, so I said that. So it bothers me. It bothers me that meaning gets lost. What I do. Okay, so what I do is I work with small and medium-sized businesses and build their websites. And so what they always want is they want something, they start wanting something that looks flashy. They want to look good. They want like a flashy slideshow. They want things that make them look pretty. But it's kind of like if you go out on a date with someone that's very attractive, but then the moment you start talking to them, they have nothing to say, and as attractive as they are, you don't really want to hang out with them because they have nothing to say. That's the way that website ends up. So actually, much better to have something to say. So the dilemma that we all face as writers, as designers of products and everything, is that we're in our own skin. And so actually the problem is the more you know about the product you're writing about, the worse you are at being able to feel what it's like to be a newbie coming in and writing about that same product. So like, have you ever had that experience like with a computer IT person or something, or like a supercomputer nerd where they were like, you could feel that they thought you were an idiot for not understanding, right away, why don't you just do Control-Alt-Z5, God, you're so dumb, But the truth is that was just what they did for their ego. They focused on the thing that they were really good at until they got good at it and could feel special. But actually it's like, what if they were asked to crochet a sweater or set up a garden bed or repair an engine in a car? Maybe they'd feel like the dumb one. And the thing is, like, empathy is about writing to the person who's buying your product, not to you. So this is the trick. So, like, the better and better you get at writing and describing and understanding the product you're writing about, the more you're not actually in the mindset of the person you're going to write for. So there's a lot of different ways you can get around that, and there's actually a whole discipline called user experience now, which talks about usability, and there's all these different techniques you can do. You can interview people to find out what their experience is like. You can actually sit there and watch them do tasks while you just observe them. So you can sit there and say, okay, so let's say you're making an airline reservation website. So you can say, okay, so here's the website. Pretend you're trying to book a flight to Paris and a hotel. And you just sit there and watch, and then they'll go like, oh, well, I'm not sure if I should click on buy ticket or book plane, and then you'll go, oh my God, it never would have occurred to me that was unclear whether you should click on buy ticket or book plane, just making this up. But it's like you instantly start getting inside their head and inside how they see the world. So this applies to everything. This applies to how things are structured. So like my mind structures a domain of knowledge a certain way. It might structure, it's like, okay, like animals and vegetables and minerals, and then under the animals you have the mammals and the reptiles, and then you have the, primates, But what if your structure is different? What if you structure it in terms of, I don't know, land creatures and sea creatures, or extraterrestrials and terrestrials. So like what matters isn't, if I'm writing about a product, what matters isn't how I structure it. That's the problem. What matters is how you structure it. So the ultimate writing and communication is always the thing that's the simplest for you as the user, for the user. And so like the closer, like the ideal piece of writing is a piece of writing that you come and you go, I want to know how to do blah, blah, blah. And it says, how to do blah, blah, blah. Oh, good. Step 1, 2, 3, I'm done. It matched my way of seeing the world. It matched my way of talking. It matched my way of thinking, because my cognitive load then is so low. Like I just go, boom, thanks. And have you had that experience occasionally on the web where you went on, you searching something and it was like, you were like, I love this site. This site is so good, And actually, I think you'll notice that as in your mind, you might think about sites that you think are pretty. But when you really like a site, I'll bet what you really like about it is it's so easy. It so matches the information you wanted to get. Actually, it's like the kindest site is the one that you can get in and get out of as quickly as possible. So actually, there's this book, Maritza knows about it too, called of the Words. And this is my new Bible for this. Her name's Ginny Reddish. And it's kind of an expensive book. Actually, if you ever want to check it out for free, you can go to Safari Books online, and you can get like a 30-day free subscription, and you have all these business books that you can read for free. It's a really cool deal. And this is one of the books, Letting Go of the Words by Janice Ginny Reddish. And basically, it's just this incredibly clear book about all of these things, about how to write for the web, how to write for other people. There's a lot of other aspects to it too, in terms of that are also, it all boils down to doing a kindness to your reader, actually. So putting things in bulleted lists, making things big enough to read, making things big enough to read for your audience. So I was with a 17-year-old the other day at dinner with a bunch of people, and she was looking something up online, and I was like, oh, so that's how big the type can be on the web page, and that's your 17-year-old eyes. And it was like literally a third of the size of my 47-year-old eyes. that it could read. And that's one of the things that just naturally happens. Your eyes, so and again, doing a kindness to your reader. So if you were doing a site for 17-year-olds, you might have a different type size than a broader range of ages. Creating space, making columns narrow enough, breaking things up into doable, clear chunks, having good headings and subheadings. I think that's another thing you'd probably find if you looked at writing that you liked or websites that you liked that you can scan, because people don't actually read online. They don't sit there and read. Maybe you don't even do that with a book. But especially online, you go, I'm trying to find out how to fix an A53 7-5 rotary mower. You go, how to fix it. So the ideal thing is say, how to fix that mower. Okay, here's what you do. You click here and you go here. You didn't care about all the other stuff on the page. You just cared about that. So actually someone hopefully did a really good job of knowing, someone's going to want to know about how to fix that, and that's what they're going to say in the title, as opposed to maybe the person that wrote that is a real geek and loves to talk about mowers and the history of mowers and on and on and on about all this arcane stuff about the metallurgy of mowers. But if they're a good writer, they're going to omit all that junk. They're not going to put all that stuff in there. Or if they did, they'd put it on another page for the weird geeks that liked to know about the metallurgy of mowers and not bother you with it. Yeah, so once you understand a product, you're suddenly terrible at explaining it to someone who doesn't understand it yet. So, just speaking a little bit to web writing, actually, I think if any of you do go into a career where you're writing a lot, you will find that maybe you're part of this battle to help put the words and the meaning and the user's mindset first. That you could be in this committee with all these people that are building the software or the car or whatever, and thinking all about how cool it is to them and forgetting about the users, because the users aren't in your building and they're not sitting there talking to you. And so part of your job can be trying to put the words first. Actually, when I'm writing websites now, I'm starting to think that my ideal way of building a website would be just have it be words. For weeks and weeks and weeks, just have the writing first. Say exactly what you were saying. Okay, how does this feel? Does this structure of how the menus are make sense? Do people get it? Ask people, find out from the audience, does it make sense to them? What are the obvious mistakes we're making? And really just kind of force the process to have the words matter more. Even just have okay, here's the website for weeks and weeks. It's just, the website is a big bunch of printed white paper with big black and white words. This is the website. Let's talk about it. You cannot get caught in how flashy it looks. You cannot get lost in cool programming techniques and all that. I'm all into those things, but what I care most about is that people have the meaning they want. That they get what they need from the site. And actually, the best products are products that do that. Apple spends a gazillion dollars making their products simple. And that's why everybody loves Apple products. There's actually a lot more money that goes into making something simple and easy to use than making it complicated and with all kinds of bells and whistles. Amazon is the same thing. Amazon spends a gazillion dollars a year doing usability testing and seeing what works for people and what doesn't work for people, so that you can go boom, 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 and be in and out of it. So obviously, this way of writing, this way of communicating is a win-win. It means everybody gets what they want. It means the customer gets what they want, and the company gets what they want, and you make something good. So that's where the empathy piece comes in. Empathy is just feeling what someone else would feel. getting outside of your own skin. So that's my whole thing. So does anybody have any questions about that or web development or web communication? Or comments or disagreements or agreements? That's okay.
Oh, HTML coding. So you use that.
Yeah, HTML coding is used. You don't necessarily have to be in that. Like building a website is like layer upon layer of stuff. So on one layer it's HTML, and that is what the browser gets. The browser gets HTML. Like if we're working like in WordPress, we might someone might never have to look at the HTML. They might just go, edit, add page, and type in, just like you type in Word, and then add another page, move them around, stuff like that.
Do you conduct a lot of formal usability?
I would love to. I've worked with lots of small clients, and it's been my own sort of internal battle that more like what I wish I could do. There's actually a book that I read recently called Rocket Surgery Made Easy. That's another one that's on that Safari Books Online for free for, I think, 30 days. Rocket Surgery Made Easy is by a usability guy who, does really expensive, fancy usability tests for big companies. And he's saying, look, it's really simple. Like, the actual thing is like, do it once a month, one morning a month. Get 3 people into your office or your coffee shop, and then just go, okay, here's 6 tasks, and then just watch them do the tasks. His point is that our disconnect between how we see the product and how we think about it and how they think about it from the outside as newbies is so different that it doesn't matter if it's rough and primitive and non-statistical and all that. Doesn't matter, because in some ways we're going to see such blaring, obvious differences like, oh, duh, of course nobody's going to notice that's there because we've been looking at that button for 6 months. So of course we know it's there, and we completely forgot that that's totally important and that nobody's going to see that button there or whatever. So basically, and then just fix that blaringly obvious thing, and then it'll make the product much better, or the website much better, and then do it again next month. It's almost like triage. Once you start to realize how much of a disconnect there can be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's not quite, but to me, this is standard for you.
Yeah.
Going into a discussion, any ethical or
Yeah. Yeah, ethical or legal issues. Yeah. I feel like I often have an ethical issue because although it's not an official one, or it's not a legal one, but it's because I feel like if I'm trying to help my customer and he's building a website, she's building a website for their users, I often might be in a dilemma between what that customer says they need or how it should be and what I really feel would be best for their users. So that's a good dilemma right there. Now I'm in a position of explaining to someone that may have no background in writing, no background in, may have a good deal less background than you guys do in how to do this stuff, and trying to explain to them why you shouldn't spend all your friggin' money on design. You should spend some money on writing. Spend some money on marketing. Don't get so hyped up about how flashy it's going to look when the first 1.2 seconds you see the site. Get hyped up about how people are going to use the site and it's going to help them. So that's an ethical dilemma. And actually, another ethical dilemma which again is not legal, but it's ethical, is I'll have people come to me and say, we want you to build X, Y, and Z, more like as a programmer a lot of times. And I'll say, okay, I'll build it. And there's all these startups, and they're like, we have this brilliant idea. We know it's going to make $1 million. And I've seen so many things that someone knows are going to make $1 million that I kind of suspect it ain't going to make $1 million. So at what point do I say, have you seen a business consultant? Have you thought about this? You know, I have a feeling that it might not, versus just build it for them. I had experience a few years ago with some ex-lawyers, very intelligent, very well educated. They paid me a nice amount of money. They, you know, it's not happening. Didn't happen. In that case, I drew the line where it's like, well, okay, they're paying me to do it. I'll respect their decision. So that's the ethical thing, is, should I respect their decision, or should I point out that maybe this is not a wise decision? Yeah? Oh, you said any question? Yeah. What?
Maybe just one last. I didn't necessarily show it. It might be helpful.
I could. I think I'll just leave it with this. I think if you could see anything, you should see this book, Letting Go of the Words. This is, yeah, which again is like, okay, like it's an interesting thing, because on my site, I highlight the slideshow of portfolio of sites I have worked on. I might have helped code that site. I might have not even done anything to do with, sometimes, in a few cases, I didn't even do much to the design. Where's all this programming? Because I know that people are going to look at the picture, even though that's not really all that's important. So again, like, just try to write for other people and see how you can get into their minds. And the best way to do that is actually to come from your heart, to like feel like, wow, it would be so cool if they got this great product they could play with. You know, it would be so cool if they could like take that to their kids or whatever it is, and use it every day and have it be. And I think that's what Steve Jobs and Wozniak had. I think that's why they made the Apple so good, is because they really were excited about what it would do for people. Yeah, so see if you can do that, and it will make your job more fun too. All right.